Oh gosh, I'm a guy. There are certain things I'm just going to remember, and there are certain things that just aren't going to matter to me, even if they do matter to you. Sometimes it's just selective memory.
So apparently I'm just a guy. Nothing more, nothing less. Not all guys are jerks, but according to Kody, every single one of us is. The level of frustration this guy manages to pull out of me is honestly insane. And let me make one thing clear, his being a guy has absolutely nothing to do with it. He's just a self-absorbed jerk. If I mention something to my husband about wanting something or suggesting a place to go, he actually listens and tries to make it happen. Weird, right? Imagine that kind of partnership. But Kody? Oh, Kody only remembers things when it benefits him, like when he can use it as leverage against one of the wives. Janelle called it out perfectly. He has this selective memory that he only activates when it's convenient for him. Classic. Honestly, the fact that he forgot is whatever. What really gets me is the way he reacted. Meri was excited about seeing Stonehenge, talking about how meaningful and cool it was for her, and Kody's response? Condescending and belittling as usual. He's honestly just a total douche canoe. We've got so much to dive into today, so let's not waste any time. Let's jump straight into it. Hey everyone, what's up? It's Elena here, and welcome back to my channel Reality Nexus X. Oh, so how many of you saw this coming? Kody finally asked Robyn to marry him in a monogamous setup. Remember when some of you were predicting this? Well, it's happening. Robyn's about to get another wedding, even though the real kicker is, she hates that Christine had that big, beautiful wedding with all the kids involved. You can practically hear her seething about it. Now, let's be real, who's actually going to show up to this one? I'm guessing Robyn's kids, Nathan, and probably a couple of his brothers. Honestly, I've never seen Robyn interact with a friend, so I wouldn't hold my breath for any surprise guests. The woman probably spends most of her time chasing kids, dealing with Kody, and shopping. That's it. And seriously, would you want to watch this wedding? I'd rather sit through a 24-hour stream of hemorrhoid removal surgeries than endure a second of Kody and Robyn reaffirming their bond, or whatever you want to call it. At least hemorrhoid surgeries are actually useful. Another Robyn wedding? Not so much. It's just a ticking time bomb that's gonna make things even worse for Kody's kids. Of course, when no one shows up, they'll play the intimate ceremony card, claiming they wanted something private. Probably a romantic elopement to Hawaii, where there's no pork on the menu and Robyn's in an Amish-style bathing suit, because why not? Meanwhile, the older girls will stay home, stuck babysitting King Saul and Eri, while the lovebirds are off pretending like this isn't just another PR stunt. So is there a new spoiler or clip out there? Or is this just about Kody asking if Robyn's finally ready to accept him as a monogamist? Oh, and there was that whole sighting of them in the Great Smokies. Rumor had it they were planning a vow renewal. I don't remember the details, but let's be honest. Vow renewals are a death sentence for relationships in Real Housewives world. But seriously, Robyn's been crying about wanting the big, happy polygamist family with sister wives. So why is she now agreeing to a monogamous marriage? Wasn't the whole point of marrying Kody so she could have sister wives? I mean, for all her dramatic sobbing about losing her sister wives, you'd think she'd be begging him to find more wives, right? Looks like she's always wanted this from the start. So this will officially be her third wedding to Kody. And yeah, technically, the legal one was just paperwork, but you still gotta say your vows and have an officiant sign it. So sorry, Kody, I'm counting that as a wedding too, even though you shut down the big party Robyn dreamed of, which oddly enough, is the one thing I'll actually give him credit for. Can we please stop rehashing the same old debate about Meri being entitled? Seriously, every few weeks, the same tired topics get dragged up, especially the one about Meri's house in Vegas. So let's clear this up once and for all, and really, this should be pinned somewhere. First off, Meri couldn't get a smaller house, because the building plan required all the houses to be the same size. It wasn't some arbitrary decision on her part. She didn't just decide to throw money around for the fun of it. She paid for all the upgrades to her house out of her own pocket. No handouts, and for the record, Meri never asked Christine for extra money for those upgrades. That was all Kody's idea, and anyone with half a brain could see that Meri was genuinely blindsided when it came up during the couch interview. She made it very clear that she would never have asked Christine for that. Now, what really gets under my skin is Janelle's implication that Meri didn't need such a big house because she only had one kid. Excuse me? Christine and Janelle also have just one child living at home now. So would they have moved into a smaller house if they hadn't already left Vegas by that point? Seems like a bit of a double standard, don't you think? Here's the thing. Meri paid her dues. She put in her fair share all those years, supporting the family, taking care of 3 adults and 12 children while she had only one. So why is it that when it comes to receiving something, everyone thinks she should settle for less just because she only has one child? Maybe it's just me, but that doesn't sit right. Honestly, I get why Meri wanted a comparable house. She wasn't just being difficult, she was being treated like she didn't matter. Kody wasn't intimate with her anymore, and it was like she was being shoved into the shadows of the family. She wanted to make a statement. I am a sister wife in this family, not some afterthought stuck in a basement somewhere. Can you really blame her for that? Look, I get that people have different perspectives on this, and that's fine. Trying to settle this issue once and for all on Reddit is a lost cause because new people are constantly jumping in, and they haven't read a year's worth of posts and comments. So of course, we're going to keep having the same debates over and over. That's just part of the territory here. And to be honest, it's interesting to hear new people offer their completely different points of view. As for Janelle, when they were renting, maybe she had a point about Meri renting a smaller place to save a bit of money for the down payments. I'm not saying Meri should have been living in a shoebox, but a 5-bedroom rental was overkill when it was just her and Leon. But then, if they were all supposed to be living as one family, shouldn't each of them have been on equal footing? Meri and Leon deserved a house that was just as good as anyone else's. They were all working with the same builder, so the house size was already set. What didn't make sense was the way each wife had the same monthly budget, regardless of how many kids they had to feed. Leon had a very different standard of living than Janelle's or Christine's kids did early on, and that was never really addressed. I also think the only time Janelle ever implied that Meri didn't need such a big house was when they were all scrambling for rentals in Vegas when money was tight. Meri wanted a larger house, but realistically, she could have fit herself and Leon into a smaller place. Again, not judging, just pointing out that when they were talking about building houses, the size was a non-issue because they had to be a certain minimum size. Everyone knew that. It's honestly baffling how the kids are the only ones who seem to have their heads screwed on straight when it comes to the Flagstaff move. I'm watching Sister Wives for the first time, and I'm currently at the end of season 13, and it's like the kids are the only ones seeing the train wreck ahead. Take Aspen and Christine's conversation, for example. Aspen's like, none of this makes sense. She points out how it's farther from family. It'll ruin their finances, and their Vegas setup was basically perfect. Christine's response? A vague comment about Vegas not being safe. Really? That's all you've got? Then Gabe and Isabel chime in, and it's like they're reading the parents' minds. They ask why they're uprooting their lives, leaving school behind, and making everything worse just because the parents are on some kind of whim. Gabe even questions the financial logic, and Isabel straight up says she thought the point of Vegas was to put down roots, not yank everything up and move to Flagstaff, especially after they put so much money into the homes. Maddie is also fuming because she and Caleb moved to Vegas for the family to be nearby. So much for that when the whole family just bails. What's wild is that the entire reason they were supposed to move was to be closer to family and improve their financial situation. Guess what? Both those reasons got way worse after the Flagstaff move. So why are none of the adults seeing this? Are they all just completely delusional? I honestly think it was genius on the producer's part to have the teenagers lay out how absurd the move was. If the adults had explained it, we might have been confused and tried to justify it. But the kids just laid it out for us. The move makes no sense. It's a disaster waiting to happen. And it's so glaringly obvious that the kids can see it while the adults are just lost in the clouds. This made it crystal clear that the women were duped, probably manipulated by Kody and Robyn, who were too busy doing whatever it is they do in their weird little world. The kids weren't even looking at the move like a way for Kody and Robyn to consolidate all the family's money into their hands. But let's be real, that was probably part of it too. The whole thing doesn't make sense, not by the reasons they gave. Once you factor in that the move wasn't about those reasons, it gets a lot clearer. I suspect it was more of an ultimatum from Kody, especially with the fear of tighter gun laws after the Vegas shooting, which could hurt his business. Then there's Robyn, who needed to be closer to Dayton, and Flagstaff just happened to be the spot. But let's face it, they were probably just plain dumb about it. Oh, and don't even get me started on the claim that Flagstaff is affordable. I lived in Arizona, and Flagstaff, not affordable. It's actually insanely expensive. That was just a flat-out lie. Honestly, I think Kody used this whole move to try and make his weird polygamous life work on his monogamous terms. He clearly only wanted to live his best life with Robyn, and since he had to divide his time with everyone else, he decided to force the move on everyone else, too. What a jerk. If he'd just been honest about wanting to be with Robyn, the OG3 could have stayed in Vegas and kept their thriving families intact. Instead, he made everyone's life miserable just to fulfill his own agenda. Christine's attempt at being helpful to Meri was anything but. "You're not safe. How can I help you be more safe?" she says, casually dropping that line like it's some kind of profound wisdom. Apparently, the whole world just exists to make sure Meri's in a constant bubble of safety. But then Christine adds, "You seem to be having a bad day at the luncheon. But I didn't ask what was wrong because I don't know how to deal with it." Oh, fantastic. So instead of offering any real support or showing genuine concern, she just goes with, "I noticed, but I didn't care enough to ask." I'm sorry, but that's not helpful. It's not even close. As someone who's trained in these things, licensed clinical social worker, hello, I have to say, what in the world did these people learn about safety? Using safe as a way to avoid anything that might be uncomfortable or real. That's not how it works. You can have tough conversations and still create a safe space. Avoiding everything that doesn't feel perfect is not just unhealthy, it's controlling. But Kody and Christine, they love to pull that "you're not safe" card whenever they need to shut someone down. And it's just gross. Now, I'm not out here defending Meri, but Christine? She went so far out of line here. I'm genuinely baffled she thought it was okay to speak to someone like that. My guess? It's because of all their history. With Meri's past behavior toward the family, Christine probably felt like she was finally getting a win, like she was in the right for once and could throw that jab. It was part of some weird, ongoing power struggle. They were all taking turns being mean to each other, but let's be real. Meri's the only one who's owned her part in that toxic mess. Christine, though, she acts like she emerged from the whole circus with her hands clean, like she's the only one who was always the victim and never the aggressor. Sorry, Christine, but that's a hard pass. You were just as much part of the problem, and pretending otherwise isn't doing anyone any favors. Oh, Kody, truly infuriating. I'm rewatching from the beginning, and I've just hit the episode where he drops the bombshell on the kids that they're moving to Vegas. Leon is, understandably, upset, begging to be allowed to finish out the school year at the church school. And what does Kody do? He pulls out his God gave me a responsibility speech about keeping them under his roof until they're 18. Ugh, spare me. It's like, dude, you're the one making the choices here. This isn't some divine burden. You're the adult. And then he goes on about how easy it is for him to empathize with the kids because, surprise, he's leaving behind his church and friends. Are we supposed to feel sorry for him? Because, spoiler alert, he's the one making the choice to uproot his life, not the kids. I'm screaming at the TV, and honestly, I just can't stand this man more and more every episode. But here's the kicker. 3 days before they're supposed to leave, Kody blindsides them with this out-of-state move. No warning, no time to prepare. What kind of parenting is that? Like, surprise. We're out of here, pack up everything. And let's not forget, once they get to Vegas, Leon will probably never see Kody under the same roof again. Kody's dramatic, over-the-top, I'm the father act is really something else. He's so desperate to make sure his sadness isn't overshadowed by anyone else's, especially Leon or Christine's, and it's just cruel. Honestly, my heart broke for Peyton too. It wasn't fair to any of the kids, and Kody's supposed empathy, totally non-existent. He didn't even try to care. This man is just exhausting. Meri and Kody's post-divorce interactions are a masterclass in awkwardness. The constant, over-the-top laughing, sure, it's supposed to be lighthearted, but it just feels painfully forced. And don't even get me started on that bizarre, quasi-sexual moment while they're moving stuff. Who thought that was a good idea? Then there's her favorite ex-wife comment, which, is there any way to make that sound less cringy? Honestly, I find myself looking away from the screen sometimes because the whole thing is just too much. I get it, they've been through a lot over the years, so maybe they're trying to find some humor and lightness after all the heaviness. But honestly, it just feels awkward and a little sad. It's like they're caught between trying to have these goofy, playful moments and then pivoting into talking heads where they casually drop bombshells about their miserable past. Watching them interact now feels more like a painful reminder of all the unresolved tension. Kody's manic energy whenever he's around another guy. Classic, and Meri. She's laughing as a defense mechanism, trying to cover the discomfort. The scene where she backs into him, and the laughing just drags on, unbearably awkward. It was so drawn out that it became hard to watch, and the confessionals didn't help, just making everything worse. Honestly, I think Kody's trying to play the friendly card with Meri, hoping that if he's nice enough, she won't come asking for her share of the family money. But let's be real, he's still trying to manipulate her into turning on Janelle, and spoiler alert, that's not going to work. Oh, you thought the dance mob was excruciating to watch? Well, good news, it wasn't even really a dance mob. I mean, was it? Because from what I saw, it was basically just Maddie standing on a chair, flapping around like a confused bird. Talk about a wow moment. Of all the flash mobs they've attempted on this show, this one takes the crown for most painfully awkward. I hadn't even thought about the Harlem Shake in a decade, but here we are, right back in that cringe territory. I get it though. Christine was probably trying to recreate the magical experience the parents always gave Savannah. You know, that feeling of embarrassment and confusion that everyone will talk about for years to come. So because Christine is just extra like that, she sends over a whole song and choreography. Unsurprisingly, the older kids were like, yeah, no thanks. But Maddie, she decided to try and find a middle ground. And bam, that's how we ended up with that masterpiece of awkwardness. It's beyond frustrating how Robyn can't help but drag her kids into every ounce of her anxiety and drama. Take Sister Wives Season 14 Episode 10, for example. Kody and Robyn sit down with her kids to break the news that they'll be moving because the place is being sold. Of course, her kids can instantly tell something's off with Robyn, so they naturally start feeding off her anxiety. It's not like they've been living there for just 9 months or anything. Meanwhile, Meri's on her third move, Also in the same town, mind you, but Robyn treats this like the worst crisis to ever hit. She acts like the world's ending and gets her kids all worked up over it. This is the same Robyn who told her kids no one's coming over for Christmas during the coronavirus years, further feeding their worries. But hey, as long as it benefits her, right? Robyn has a way of treating her kids like emotional support animals 1 minute, then wrapping them in bubble wrap the next. It all depends on what's convenient for her in the moment. Let's not forget how she uses her kids as a tool to justify every decision. The big house? She needed them to be her emotional scapegoats so she could play the sympathy card with the OG3, hoping to get their financial backing. Every move she makes seems to revolve around manipulating her kids into being the perfect excuse for whatever she wants. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and much love to you all.